Not physical space, not time space, psychic space. How long does it take to have a good idea? 0. How long does it take to be innovative? 0 time. You don't need time, you need space to be able to have that idea and also then capture it and then know what to do with it and execute on it. Anyway, so that was sort of the DNA of this, how I built this. It wasn't like one grand epiphany. As I say, GTD is a long string of epiphanettes, that I began to tie together. And it's funny, it's strange. The more I work with this, and I'll be 68 this year, and the more, people say, how do I still stay so engaged with this material? I said, it beats me. For one thing, I've got job security because most people don't implement spit out of this. You read the book, go, oh, I got it. By the way, I can tell you GTD in 20 seconds. You want the 20-second version? You got it. Ready? Keep anything potentially meaningful out of your head. Sooner than later, decide what exactly it means to you, what you're going to do about it. Park the results of that thinking into trusted, appropriate categories that some part of you trust you will step back and review and reflect on at all the horizons of your commitments on a regular basis, so you can see that whole gestalt, maintain that current, complete, and accurate, and trust your then intuitive guidance about making good choices about what you do.
Well, when you put it like that.
And it takes 2 years if you're a lifelong learner and you're really good to master this in terms of embodying it in terms of lifestyle. But that was a big aha to me, was that these, just keeping everything out of your head that's potentially meaningful is a huge habit for any of you to change if you haven't changed it yet. That's a big one. See, a lot of these behaviors are, if you see my TEDx talk, I sort of put that out, that much like the martial arts, and I've spent some time in the martial arts, are actually learning anything. Any of you ever learned anything that was like piano or violin or karate or the tango or something where your initial movements, it feels awkward, strange, and unnatural and unnecessary? It is the most unnatural thing in the world to learn to move your body like that. That feels so awkward and so strange until you've done it 6,000 times, in which case you'd never do anything less than that if you wanted to generate maximum power with the least amount of physical effort. But that doesn't show up naturally. It feels awkward, it feels strange, and it feels unnecessary. Keeping everything out of your head, deciding the next actions and the outcomes embedded in everything when it shows up instead of when it blows up. Keeping all of that stuff parked appropriately in appropriate categories, that some part of you can step back and constantly keep you are not your work, folks, but if you don't manage it in terms of being able to see the whole totality of it and step back and see it that way, it will run you and you'll be driven off latest and loudest. But those behaviors are just like learning something that feels awkward to begin with and feels unnatural. So it took me, I'm still learning what we need to learn about learning about that. So I figured it took me 25 years to figure out what I figured out, and then the rest of my life to figure out how to build an education model with this dumb little sort of almost open source IP, and keep it, build a business model that I got a cash register so I can keep doing it, and expand it. The youngest person we've coached with this was 10 years old. She wound up cum laude from Radcliffe or somewhere, she's getting her law degree now. We've coached people in every culture, every kind of company you can imagine. This is very universal stuff. So that's what I've been kind of scratching my head and trying to figure out. And I'm not particularly entrepreneurial. I've really been more of a researcher and an educator. I'm now sort of, I guess, motivator, though. I'm not a ta-da kind of person. Quite frankly, I'd rather be bored stupid and get 2 or 3 things out of what I say and actually go start to do them a little bit on a consistent basis that are strategic than if you got excited or motivated here. Because you all know half-life to motivation, you can measure in minutes as soon as you walk out the door of any of these events. So the nice thing is so having figured that out, then trying to build a business around that. So a lot of our work that we do now is in the corporate training world, because they were, frankly, in the U.S., the best adult education in terms of sort of self-help and lifestyle and life sort of professional development was really funded by American corporations in the training and development world, because they had the money to pay for it. So all the best educators wound up morphing themselves into the corporate world. So I just as soon be training kids and African villages and I don't know, anybody who's interested in this, I'm willing to take it. So I've kind of got the bad news that my stuff is globally, there's a global need for it out there. And so trying to find the niche of our market, how do we figure that out? If anybody can help with that, we're working on it. So what? So that's a very truncated version of the story of how this got developed. So why GTD? I think this was, for most people, still a nice to have or might be interesting to have, not a must have yet. Except the people I'm running into, some people, it's a must have. Often the uptake of this set of best practices is in episodic areas of your life. We're beginning to see that. You're moving. Time to figure out, oh God, I gotta redo my systems. You just got promoted. Ooh. One of the people I'm coaching right now is a new CEO, very highly visible, exposed organization back in DC. And he's read my book every time he changed careers. Because he said that when I changed that, my systems were tenuous at best, and that just blew the hell out of, now I have to have another way to do it. I need to go back to fundamental principles. How do I do that? So, where'd that go? That felt just ended. So again, small company. We're doing work. We do one-on-one coaching. We do a lot of training. The parts of our business. So we built a model that then we're still doing a good bit of that in the corporate world out there in the terms through the training and development of HR and professional development stuff, executive development. We're often doing that there. And then since the book hit in 2001, the self-help market kind of came to us. I mean, that's a one-off market where you're trying to sell one-on-one. So we've now actually just restructured our company over the last year or so, have a new CEO, who's great, and really lined it up in terms of value streams. So we have a value stream called enterprise productivity. It's basically who writes the check. If a company writes us the check, then it goes under enterprise. If an individual writes the check, then it goes under individual productivity. And then we have a licensing and partnership sort of division where we say, let's partner with people who've got distribution models that can take our IP, do it better than us. How we're doing that. So we've sort of structured it that way, but people would tell us we're nuts, and we still probably are, because those are two very different worlds. Corporate training world, self-help market. Very different compensation models, very different sales models, very different sales processes. Anybody, like crazy, I know, but I never pretended to be anything else. And I couldn't give up one, because interestingly, the people who are buying our stuff one-off are the people in the corporate world, for the most part. Professionals, for the most part, are people that are up against it. But I said the uptake on this is usually in episodes. You suddenly are going to have a kid. Now you're suddenly empty nesters. Hey, now you're suddenly moving. Now you got aging parent issue just got dumped in your lap. Those are the times when people oftentimes now are hungry for how do I need help now to keep this thing under control. To keep all these plates spinning, and they're critical plates. So it's kind of like one of those things that I teach something like the martial arts, like when they jump you in